Hey guys, tonight we're going to dim the lights and step into a truly fascinating and, at times, intensely unsettling corner of ancient human history. We're talking about the disturbing rituals of ancient shamanic burials. These aren't your typical quiet graves with a few humble possessions. Oh no. We're delving into the final resting places of individuals believed to be powerful intermediaries between the human world and the spirit realm. And their burials often reflected their extraordinary, and sometimes terrifying, lives. Imagine yourself in a remote, ancient landscape, perhaps deep in a frigid forest or on a windswept steppe. The air is cold, crisp, and carries the scent of pine and damp earth. You see a small, rough burial mound, or perhaps just a disturbed patch of ground, and you feel an undeniable hum in the air, a sense of immense power, both sacred and perhaps a little sinister. You can almost hear the faint echo of ancient drums, the whispers of spirits, and the chant of a voice preparing for a final, profound journey. The people we're focusing on are shamans, figures found in diverse indigenous cultures across the globe. From Siberia to the Americas, from ancient Europe to Africa. They were more than just priests or healers. They were individuals believed to possess the unique ability to enter altered states of consciousness, to communicate directly with spirits, to journey into the underworld, or to ascend to celestial realms. They could heal the sick, predict the future, guide hunts, and interpret omens. Their power was immense, often awe-inspiring, and sometimes terrifying. And when such a powerful individual died, their burial was rarely mundane. It was often a continuation of their life's work, a final, deliberate act designed to ensure their continued influence in the spirit world, or to contain their potent energy. You probably wouldn't survive a single night trying to participate in one of these ancient funerary rituals. The sensory overload, the profound spiritual intensity, the raw elements, and perhaps the sheer physical demands would be overwhelming. You'd be utterly drained, perhaps more than a little frightened by the raw power on display, and definitely not thinking about your next cozy cup of tea. This was a journey for the brave, or the truly desperate for spiritual connection. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It truly helps this little corner of the internet grow, and it lets me know these sleepy historical deep dives are finding their audience, and if you're feeling up to it. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're listening from tonight, and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself peering into an ancient burial pit, carefully excavated by modern archaeologists. The light is dim, perhaps mimicking the flickering glow of long-lost torches, and the air is cool, carrying the faint, earthy scent of disturbed soil and millennia of silence. This isn't a common grave. This is the final resting place of a shaman. And immediately, you sense something different, something profoundly intentional and deeply symbolic about the arrangement of what lies within. This initial impression begins to unveil the unique role of shamans in their communities and the truly distinct nature of their burials. Shamans held a paradoxical position. They were revered as healers and guides, vital for the spiritual well-being of their tribe. Yet they often existed on the fringes of ordinary society. They were the ones who walked between worlds, who conversed with spirits, who faced the terrifying and the beautiful in their trances. This liminal status in life being both within and outside the community, intimately connected to both human and spiritual realms, was often powerfully reflected in their death and burial. Their graves were not just a place of rest, they were a continuation of their cosmic journey, a final act of spiritual power. or even a deliberate containment of immense sacred energy. The first thing you might notice is the location of the burial. While many people were buried in communal cemeteries or designated plots, a shaman's grave might be found in a more secluded, often powerful, natural spot, perhaps near a sacred spring beneath an ancient, gnarled tree, on a prominent hilltop overlooking the landscape, or even in a cave. These locations were often considered liminal spaces in themselves, places where the veil between worlds was believed to be thinner, enhancing the shaman's ability to communicate with spirits even in death. It's as if their final resting place was chosen to keep their spiritual phone line open. Then, there's the orientation of the body. While many common burials might follow a specific cardinal direction, a shaman's body might be placed in an unusual or deliberate posture. You might see a fetal position, symbolizing rebirth, or a stretched out position, indicating a journey, in some cases. And this is where it gets particularly fascinating and a little unsettling. The body might be positioned in a way that seems to defy typical funerary norms, hinting at specific ritual actions performed at the moment of burial. This deliberate placement underscores the shaman's active role in their own death and journey. Rather than just being a passive recipient of rites, the grave goods found with shamans are often the most telling indicators of their unique role, unlike the practical tools or personal adornments of ordinary individuals. A shaman's grave would be filled with objects intrinsically linked to their spiritual practice. You might find collections of animal bones, teeth, or claws, particularly from powerful or totemic animals like bears, wolves, or birds of prey. These aren't just food remains, they are sacred tools, representing the shaman's spirit guides or their ability to shapeshift or embody animal powers during trance. Imagine a medicine bag filled with these strange, potent items. Now revealed after millennia, you might also discover ritual instruments rattles, made from gourds or animal bladders, small drums, bone flutes, or even a shaman's staff, perhaps adorned with carvings of spirits or animals. These were the tools of their trade, used to induce trance, to call spirits, or to heal. Their inclusion in the grave ensured the shaman was equipped for their continued work in the spirit world, or that their power remained contained within the sacred space of the burial. Archaeologists widely agree that identifying a shamanic burial requires more than just unusual grave goods. It necessitates a comprehensive analysis of the entire burial context, including skeletal evidence, grave location, and comparative ethnographic data from surviving indigenous cultures. This rigorous approach helps to differentiate genuine shamanic burials from other types of ritual or elite interments, a particularly disturbing yet revealing aspect of some shamanic burials is the occasional evidence of body manipulation. While rare, some archaeological finds suggest that a shaman's body might have been dismembered, partially articulated, or even rearranged after death. But before final burial, this isn't random violence. It's often interpreted as a symbolic act, mimicking the shaman's own spiritual journey of dismemberment and reintegration during their powerful trances. A kind of symbolic death and rebirth in preparation for their final journey. It's a chilling thought that the very body was part of the final ritual, a living map of their spiritual powers. The belief system surrounding shamans often included the idea that their power, even in death, remained potent. Their burial site could become a sacred place for the community, a focal point for spiritual connection, or a site of pilgrimage. However, this power also came with a potential danger. If not properly contained or managed in burial, a shaman's spirit might remain too active, too volatile, potentially causing harm or disruption to the living. Thus, some of the disturbing aspects of their burials might also be interpreted as attempts to contain this immense, wild power, ensuring it remained beneficial rather than harmful. You might find evidence of offerings at or near the shaman's grave, made by subsequent generations, These could be small pebbles, animal bones, or even precious artifacts, indicating continued veneration and interaction with the shaman's spirit. It speaks to a living relationship between the community and their departed spiritual leader, a belief that the shaman's influence could still be accessed from beyond the grave. The distinctiveness of shamanic burials underscores their exceptional status within their societies. They were seen as unique individuals, set apart by their gifts, their experiences, and their profound connection to realms beyond ordinary human perception. Their graves were not merely places of rest, but enduring monuments to this extraordinary existence, whispering stories of spiritual journeys, ancient beliefs, and the fine line between the sacred and the terrifying. You've peered into the unique setting of a shaman's final resting place, sensing its profound intentionality. Now, let's bring the contents of that grave into sharper focus, exploring the remarkable, often unsettling, tools of the spirit world that were buried with ancient shamans. These weren't mundane possessions. They were instruments of power, tangible links to unseen realms, and their very presence tells us a story about the shaman's active role even beyond death. Imagine an archaeologist, their breath held, carefully brushing away the last few grains of soil from a central burial. What emerges isn't a simple knife or a clay pot, but something far more enigmatic. You might see objects crafted from animal bone, meticulously carved and polished, perhaps adorned with geometric patterns or simplified animal figures. These aren't mere decorations, they are likely rattles or clappers, designed to create rhythmic sounds to induce trance states, to call spirits, or to drive away malevolent entities. The very sound of such a rattle, even in your mind's ear, carries a primal resonance, a connection to ancient ceremonies. Then, there are the drums. While the drum itself, often made of stretched animal hide over a wooden frame, would likely have long since decayed, you might find the telltale presence of a drum beat or a carved bone or wooden handle, sometimes with an attached head of leather or fur. The drum was the shaman's horse to the spirit world. Its steady beat a lifeline between realms. Its presence in the grave signifies a belief that the shaman would continue their journeys, their spiritual work. Even in death, you might also discover bone flutes or whistles, sometimes crafted from the long bones of birds or small mammals. These weren't just musical instruments for entertainment. Their piercing sounds could be used to call specific spirits, to charm animals, or to facilitate healing. Imagine the haunting notes of such a flute echoing in the ancient wilderness, a sound believed to bridge the gap between human and animal worlds, between the living and the dead. But it gets more specific, and often more disturbing. Shamans were intimately connected with animals, believing they could embody their spirits or gain their powers. So, you might find unusual collections of animal teeth, claws, or skulls, particularly from powerful predators like bears, wolves, or large birds of prey. These weren't just trophies. They were components of their ritual attire or medicine bags, worn to channel animal spirits, to provide protection during dangerous spiritual journeys, or to represent their animal guides. Imagine a headdress adorned with bear claws, or a necklace strung with wolf teeth. Objects that were once imbued with immense spiritual power, now laid to rest with their owner. Perhaps even more unsettling is the occasional discovery of human bone artifacts. This is rare and always highly controversial, but some archaeological evidence has hinted at the use of human bone, perhaps from revered ancestors or even enemies, as components of shamanic tools or adornments. This doesn't necessarily imply violence, but speaks to a complex relationship with death and the spiritual potency attributed to human remains. Such finds always spark intense academic debate and require meticulous forensic analysis. Archaeologists often face significant challenges in definitively identifying specific grave goods as shamanic tools versus personal adornments or symbols of status, as the lines between these categories can be fluid in ancient societies. This requires careful contextual analysis and comparative studies with ethnographic data. The inclusion of psychoactive plants or substances, or the tools for their preparation, is another fascinating, though often subtle, clue. While the organic material itself rarely survives, residues on ancient pipes, bowls, or grinding stones might suggest the use of hallucinogenic plants during trance states. These substances were not for recreation. They were sacred keys to unlocking altered consciousness, allowing the shaman to communicate with spirits, gain insights, or heal the sick. Their presence in the grave indicates their integral role in the shaman's practice, perhaps suggesting a continued need for such spiritual aids in the afterlife. You might also discover amulets or charms, small objects often made from stone, bone, or shell, carved with abstract patterns or protective symbols. These were personal talismans, imbued with spiritual power, carried by the shaman for protection against malevolent spirits or to enhance their own spiritual strength. Their quiet presence in the grave whispers of the dangers and protections sought in the spirit world. The very arrangement of these tools within the burial can be telling. They might be carefully laid out around the body, as if still in use, or placed specifically on certain body parts. This deliberate positioning often reflects a symbolic connection to the shaman's spiritual abilities or the nature of their final journey. It's a map of their spiritual life, laid out for eternity. One particular unsettling detail is the discovery of shamanic masks, or fragments thereof. These masks, often made from wood, bone, or even stretched animal skin, were used during rituals to embody spirits or to transform the shaman's appearance during trance. While the organic components might be lost, the presence of associated animal bones for attachment, or unique pigments, can hint at their former existence. Imagine the power of a shaman wearing such a mask. Eyes rolling back in trance, their voice changing, embodying a fierce animal spirit, and then imagine that mask buried with them, forever holding that transformative energy. These grave goods weren't just possessions. They were extensions of the shaman's being, conduits of their power, and necessities for their continued spiritual work. Their burial with the shaman suggests a belief that the shaman's journey into the afterlife was not a passive rest, but an active continuation of their role as an intermediary, a guide, and a protector for their community, even from the realm of the dead. It underscores the profound difference between a shaman's burial and that of an ordinary person, a difference that speaks volumes about their extraordinary lives. You've explored the potent tools that accompanied shamans into the spirit world, each whispering of their immense power. Now, let's consider the deeper connection revealed by these burials, the profound relationship between animal guides and human fate. This is about the pervasive presence of animal remains and symbolic adornments in shamanic graves, hinting at beliefs that blurred the lines between human and beast, and saw the destiny of one intrinsically linked to the other. Imagine the shaman in life. Performing a ritual, they might wear a headdress fashioned from a deer's antlers, a cloak adorned with the feathers of an eagle, or a necklace strung with the teeth of a wolf. These weren't just costumes, they were extensions of their spiritual being, believed to allow the shaman to tap into the essence of these animals, to embody their strength, cunning, or aerial perspective during trance. When such a shaman died, these powerful animalistic adornments, or parts of the animals themselves, were often interred with them. Signifying a continued spiritual connection, you might discover the complete skeleton of a powerful animal laid alongside the shaman in the grave. Perhaps a large bear, its bones carefully positioned as if still guarding its master, or a wolf, fierce even in skeletal form, eternally accompanying the shaman on their journey. These animals weren't just pets or food. They were believed to be spirit guides or totemic animals, intimately connected to the shaman's power and identity. Their presence in the burial suggests a belief that these powerful companions would continue to serve the shaman in the afterlife, protecting them, guiding them, or lending them their formidable abilities in the spirit realm. It's a powerful image of loyalty stretching beyond life itself, a silent promise of eternal companionship beyond full skeletons. Disarticulated animal bones, teeth, claws, or feathers, particularly from powerful predators or birds of prey, are common finds. These fragments, often meticulously cleaned or modified, were likely incorporated into the shaman's ritual attire. Think of a shaman's belt adorned with bear claws, signifying ferocity, or a cloak fringed with eagle feathers, allowing for spiritual flight. These items were not just symbolic, they were believed to be active conduits of animal power, imbued with the essence of the creature they came from. Their burial ensures that the shaman's ability to shape-shift or draw on animal strengths remains with them, a permanent part of their spiritual arsenal. The presence of specific animal species in these burials is highly significant. Bears, for instance, are common in North Eurasian shamanism, symbolizing strength, healing, and connection to the underworld. As they hibernate and emerge anew, wolves represent cunning, hunting prowess, and leadership. Birds of prey like eagles and owls symbolize spiritual flight, vision, and the ability to traverse different cosmic levels. The specific animals found with a shaman can give us profound insights into their personal spirit guides, their specialized abilities, and the cosmology of their particular culture. Archaeologists often face challenges in definitively distinguishing between animal remains that were grave goods, i.e., ritually placed companions or symbols, versus those that were food offerings, especially if the bones are fragmented. This often requires detailed taphonomic analysis and a deep understanding of the cultural context to infer true intent. A particularly eerie detail is the occasional discovery of animal parts carefully crafted into human-like figures or adorned to resemble anthropomorphic beings. This could be a skull fitted with human eyes, or a set of antlers arranged to suggest a human head. These hybrid creations might represent the shaman's ability to transform, to embody animalistic deities, or to act as a bridge between human and animal realms. It blurs the very concept of distinct species, hinting at a world where all life was interconnected and where identity could be fluid. The emphasis on animal-human fusion extended to shamanic masks and costumes, while largely decayed. The presence of animal skulls, jawbones, or articulated limbs often points to the former existence of elaborate outfits designed to transform the shaman's appearance during trance. Imagine a shaman adorned with a deer head, moving through a ritual dance, becoming the very spirit they invoked. Burying these elements ensures that the shaman's transformative power, their ability to navigate the boundaries of identity, remains with them for their eternal journey. The ritual placement of animal parts also speaks to the concept of reciprocity between humans and the natural world. In many shamanic cultures, animals were not just resources, they were respected beings, sometimes even revered ancestors or spirits. The act of burying valuable animal remains with a shaman could be seen as an offering, a gift to ensure continued harmony between the human community and the animal spirits, or to repay a debt for the power or guidance received in life. You might even find evidence of animal sacrifice associated with these burials, not for food, but as a deliberate ritual offering. The discovery of specific cuts of meat, or entire animals laid out in precise ways, suggests a deep spiritual purpose. These sacrifices could be meant to nourish the shaman on their journey, to provide them with a retinue in the afterlife, or to appease powerful animal deities who would assist the shaman's passage. The silent presence of these animal bones and symbols within the grave offers us a profound glimpse into a worldview where the human individual was inextricably linked to the animal kingdom, where the boundaries of self were porous, and where the natural world was alive with powerful, guiding spirits. It tells a story of a deep ecological awareness, a spiritual connection to nature that is often lost in our modern, urbanized existence. So, as you quietly reflect on the animal companions and symbolic adornments found in these ancient graves, you gain a deeper appreciation for the complex relationship between human fate and the animal world. The shamanic burials stand as powerful testaments to a time when humans sought wisdom, power, and companionship not just from their fellow humans, but from the wild, untamed spirits of the creatures around them. A bond that stretched even beyond death. You've explored the deep connections between shamans and their animal guides, and the powerful tools that bridge their world with the spirit realm. Now, let's delve into the very purpose of a shaman's death and burial, the belief that it was a final, profound step in their spiritual journey. A transition beyond the veil's threshold into the very heart of the afterlife and spirit realms. Imagine the shaman in life, their existence defined by journeys into altered states, communing with unseen entities, and traversing the hidden pathways of the cosmos. Death for such an individual wasn't seen as an end to this journey, but rather its ultimate, most significant phase. Their burial was not merely a resting place, it was conceived as a cosmic launchpad, a permanent access point to the very dimensions they navigated during their trances. This profoundly active understanding of death set shamanic burials apart. The grave itself was often seen as a liminal space, a thin membrane between the living world and the spirit world. You might find evidence of this through the careful placement of the body or grave goods, aligning them with significant natural features or celestial directions that were believed to lead to specific spiritual domains. For example, a shaman might be buried facing a particular mountain that was considered a dwelling place of spirits, or positioned to align with the rising sun, symbolizing rebirth and a new journey. This belief in a continuous spiritual journey is often reflected in the shaman's posture in the grave, while some might be laid in a fetal position, symbolizing a return to the cosmic womb. Others might be found in an extended position, seemingly ready for travel, in some rare and intriguing cases. The body might even be arranged in a posture evocative of a trance state, perhaps with limbs slightly bent or head turned in an unusual way, as if caught mid-flight between realms. This isn't just about preserving the body, it's about preserving its spiritual readiness. The very choice of burial site reinforces this idea of a threshold. Shamans might be interred in caves, which were often seen as entrances to the underworld, or on remote, high mountain passes, believed to be closer to celestial spirits, or near powerful bodies of water, which symbolize transition and purification. These locations were chosen not for convenience, but for their inherent spiritual power, their ability to facilitate the shaman's continued interaction with the unseen. You might also discover objects within the grave that symbolize cosmic layers or different realms of existence. Perhaps a collection of different colored stones, each representing a distinct level of the spiritual cosmos that the shaman was believed to traverse, or carvings that depict a world tree, connecting the underworld, middle world, and upper world, acting as a spiritual ladder for the shaman's eternal ascensions and descents. These weren't just decorative, they were conceptual maps of the shaman's universe, ensuring they had their bearings in the infinite expanse of the afterlife. Archaeological interpretation of shamanic cosmology is challenging, relying heavily on comparative ethnography from extant shamanic cultures and symbolic analysis of grave goods, leading to ongoing scholarly debates about the precise details of their belief systems about the afterlife. The fluidity of spiritual concepts in oral traditions further complicates definitive conclusions, a particularly fascinating, though disturbing, Aspect is the occasional evidence of bound or restrained bodies in some shamanic burials. While rare, finds of bodies with ropes or bindings around them, or even heavy stones placed on top, are sometimes interpreted not as punishment, but as an attempt by the living to contain the shaman's immense, potentially volatile, spiritual power even after death, if a shaman was believed to have a particularly strong or unpredictable spirit. The community might have felt it necessary to ensure their power remained within the bounds of the sacred burial site, preventing it from causing unintended disruption or harm to the living. It's a chilling thought, a final, desperate attempt to manage power that transcended life itself. The inclusion of spirit effigies or small sculpted figures, sometimes made from clay, wood now decayed, or bone, further underscores the belief in an active spirit world. These figures might represent guardian spirits, ancestral spirits, or even malevolent entities that the shaman engaged with. Their presence in the grave ensures the shaman remains connected to their spiritual allies and adversaries, ready for continued interaction. It's like burying a general with a map of the battlefield and miniature figures of his allies and enemies. The very act of the shaman's death could be seen as a final, ultimate trance journey, a permanent crossing of the threshold into the spirit realms. The burial rituals, then, were designed to be both a send-off and a form of channeling, ensuring that the shaman's power could still be accessed or contained by the living community when needed. Their grave became a permanent gateway, a sacred nexus where the worlds could still meet. You might even find evidence of ritual fires or offerings made directly into the grave after the body was interred, signifying ongoing communication with the deceased shaman. The remnants of charcoal, ash, or burnt offerings found above the primary burial chamber can hint at these post-burial rituals, a continuous dialogue between the living and their powerful, departed spiritual leader. So, as you quietly contemplate the shaman's final resting place, you see it not just as a grave, but as a deliberate portal. It is a powerful testament to a belief system where death was not an end, but an intense, active transition into the vast, unseen spirit worlds, a journey beyond the veil's threshold with the shaman, forever poised between realms. Their eternal dream, a continuation of their earthly spiritual quest. You've explored the shaman's final journey beyond the veil, a profound continuation of their spiritual path. Now, let's venture into one of the most unsettling, yet deeply symbolic aspects sometimes revealed in these ancient burials, the chilling archaeological evidence of ritual dismemberment and symbolic rebirth. This isn't about violence for its own sake, but rather about a profound, ancient understanding of the body's role in spiritual transformation. Imagine an archaeologist carefully uncovering a grave, and instead of a neatly articulated skeleton, they find a disarray of bones. Limbs are separated from the torso. The skull might be placed away from the spine, or bones might show cut marks or signs of deliberate breakage. This isn't evidence of grave robbing or careless burial. Instead, meticulous examination often reveals patterns that suggest a highly intentional act performed before the final interment. This is the disturbing whisper of ritual dismemberment. For many ancient shamanic cultures, the act of dismemberment was not about destruction, but about transformation and rebirth. In the shamanic worldview, a common motif in initiation rites or powerful trances was the shaman's own symbolic death and dismemberment in the spirit world, followed by their spiritual reassembly and rebirth with new powers. It was a terrifying, yet vital, process of self-annihilation and renewal. To physically replicate this process on the shaman's body after death, or to symbolically represent it in the burial, was to ensure their continued spiritual efficacy in the afterlife. It was a final, profound ritual designed to empower them for their eternal journey. You might find evidence of defleshing, where soft tissues were intentionally removed from the bones, leaving a skeleton that was then carefully rearranged or partially disarticulated before burial. This could be done through various means, including scraping, boiling, or even allowing natural decomposition to occur before final interment. The intent was to separate the spirit from the flesh, making it ready for a new form of existence or to facilitate its journey. It's a stark, almost clinical, approach to the human body, driven by deep spiritual conviction. Consider the psychological impact of such a ritual. For the living community, it would have been a profoundly unsettling, yet powerful, spectacle. Witnessing the deliberate manipulation of the body of their most revered spiritual leader would have underscored the shaman's unique connection to the spirit world, their ability to transcend ordinary human limitations, even in death. It was a visceral reminder that the shaman's path was one of extremes. Pushing beyond the comfortable boundaries of human experience, anthropologists and archaeologists debate whether explicit archaeological evidence for physical dismemberment always implies a literal reenactment of trance experiences, or if it sometimes signifies other forms of ritualized processing of the dead, such as excarnation exposure of the body to allow soft tissue to decompose naturally before burial of the bones. The interpretation is often complex and highly contextual. A particularly eerie detail is the precise placement of scattered bones within the grave, instead of just a jumbled mess. Archaeologists might find that certain bones are deliberately separated and placed in specific locations within the burial pit, sometimes mirroring cosmic directions or symbolic arrangements. For example, a skull might be found at one end of the grave, while the long bones are placed at another, or certain bones might be missing entirely, perhaps kept by the community as powerful relics or totems. This intentional scattering isn't random. It's a symbolic reordering, a map of their final transformation. The concept of symbolic rebirth is crucial here. After the dismemberment, either literal or ritualistic, the body or its remains might be reassembled or placed in a position that suggests a new beginning. This could be a fetal position within a burial pit, signifying a return to the Earth Mother, or bones carefully arranged to resemble a sleeping figure, awaiting awakening. The manipulation wasn't about disrespect. It was about preparing the individual for a new, powerful existence in the spirit world. Just as a caterpillar undergoes transformation to become a butterfly, you might also find evidence of bones being decorated after defleshing, perhaps painted with ochre, incised with patterns, or adorned with beads or shells. This further indicates that the bones themselves were seen as sacred objects, imbued with the shaman's power even in their skeletal form. It's a testament to a worldview where the physical remnants of a powerful individual retained spiritual potency. Becoming a lasting conduit to the spirit realm? The chilling aspect of these findings often clashes with modern sensibilities, which tend to view such manipulation of human remains with revulsion. But for ancient cultures, these were acts of profound spiritual significance, deeply rooted in their cosmology and their understanding of the shaman's unique role. It was a testament to the belief that the body was merely a temporary vessel, and that true power and transformation lay in the spirit's ability to transcend its physical limitations. One fascinating, if somewhat morbid, detail found in some burials, not always directly shamanic but illustrative of this concept, is the practice of secondary burial where bodies are exhumed after initial decomposition, cleaned, and then reinterred, while often for practical reasons like space. For shamans, this secondary treatment might have taken on deeper ritualistic meaning, akin to a staged dismemberment and reassembly for their final, powerful journey. It adds a layer of complexity to interpreting what we see in the archaeological record. So, as you quietly reflect on these unsettling yet profound practices, you glimpse a worldview where the boundaries of life and death, body and spirit, were fluid, The ritual dismemberment and symbolic rebirth found in some ancient shamanic burials are not just disturbing acts, they are powerful, ancient echoes of a deep spiritual journey. A final, transformative act designed to propel the shaman into their eternal role as a bridge between worlds. You've explored the unsettling, yet profound, concept of ritual dismemberment and shamanic burials, hinting at a deep spiritual transformation. Now, let's consider how the very design and placement of these graves were not accidental, but meticulously planned as graves as cosmic portals. They were believed to be active access points, gateways, or conduits to other dimensions, meticulously crafted to facilitate the shaman's continued journeys into the spirit realms. Imagine an ancient landscape, perhaps a sacred valley or a towering mountain, known for its spiritual potency. When a shaman died, their burial site wasn't chosen randomly. It was selected for its inherent power, its liminal qualities. You might find a grave situated precisely at a crossroads of ley lines, those invisible energetic pathways believed to crisscross the earth, making it a powerful spiritual node, or perhaps on a prominent hill that acted as a natural bridge between the earthly and celestial spheres. These locations were chosen because they were already considered places where the veil between worlds was thin, making them ideal for a shaman's final, eternal passage. The orientation of the grave itself was often crucial. Shamans might be buried facing a specific direction, not just for symbolic reasons, but because that direction was believed to lead directly to a particular spirit realm, an underworld, a celestial domain, or the land of ancestors. You might find bodies aligned with the rising of certain stars, the path of the sun at a solstice, or even the flow of a sacred river. Each vector a spiritual compass pointing to a specific cosmic destination. It's as if the grave itself was a spiritual arrow, perpetually aimed at the shaman's eternal destination. Consider the internal structure of some elaborate shamanic burials. While not as grand as the monolithic passage tombs of the Neolithic, some shamanic graves involve intricate stone linings, specific arrangements of timbers, or even multiple layers of different materials. These weren't just for protection. They could be symbolic representations of the different layers of the cosmos that the shaman traversed during their trances. Each layer of the burial pit might represent a different spiritual dimension, and the shaman, nestled within, was positioned to access them all. You might discover specific stones or crystals carefully placed within the grave. These weren't just decorative, they were often believed to be imbued with spiritual energy, acting as conduits or amplifiers for the shaman's powers. A quartz crystal, for instance, might have been seen as a tool for clear vision in the spirit world, or a particular type of rock might have been believed to open pathways between realms. Their inclusion in the grave ensures that the shaman has access to powerful spiritual batteries or keys for their journeys. Archaeological interpretations of specific grave orientations and stone placements as cosmic portals are a significant area of debate among scholars, often requiring corroboration from ethnographic records of existing shamanic cultures and robust astronomical analysis to move beyond speculation. It's a challenging field where material evidence meets belief systems, a particularly eerie yet profound. Detail found in some burials is the creation of a spiritual ladder or pathway within the grave itself. This might manifest as a series of specific animal bones, arranged in a line leading away from the body, or a collection of stones ascending towards the surface. These weren't just decorative, they were symbolic routes for the shaman's spirit to ascend or descend to different cosmic levels, ensuring their ability to continue their mediation work from beyond the grave. It's a chilling thought, a physical blueprint for a journey into the spiritual unknown. The grave goods themselves sometimes acted as symbolic portals. Remember the drums and rattles we discussed? These weren't just tools for trance, their rhythmic sounds were believed to create vibrations that opened pathways to the spirit world. Burying them with the shaman ensured that this sonic portal remained active, allowing the shaman to continue their spiritual communication, even from their final resting place. The drum, in a sense, became a permanent gateway. The concept of a world tree or axis mundi is also highly relevant here. Many shamanic cosmologies feature a central axis connecting the underworld, the middle world, our reality, and the upper world, celestial realms. A shaman's grave, particularly if marked by a sacred tree or pole, could be seen as the earthly manifestation of this cosmic axis, a point of convergence where all realms could be accessed. The shaman, buried at this pivotal point, became the eternal guardian or traveler along this cosmic highway. You might also find evidence of ritual circles or stone alignments around the burial mound or grave. These structures, often invisible from the surface after millennia, would have served to consecrate the space, to amplify its spiritual power, and to act as a protective barrier, ensuring that the portal remained open only for the shaman's intended journeys, and not for unwanted intrusions from malevolent spirits. It's a sophisticated understanding of sacred geometry. The very act of burial in a designated cosmic portal signifies the community's belief in the shaman's enduring power and influence. They weren't just burying a body, they were establishing a permanent spiritual communication point. Future generations might visit these graves, seeking guidance, healing, or intercession from the powerful shaman who continued their work from the heart of the earth. So, as you quiet your mind and contemplate the careful construction and placement of these ancient graves, you realize they are far more than just tombs. They are meticulously designed access points to other dimensions, cosmic maps, and enduring testaments to a profound spiritual understanding where death was not a final destination, but a transformative passage through the grave as a cosmic portal, with the shaman forever navigating the vast, unseen realms beyond the veil. You've explored how shamanic graves were conceived as cosmic portals, meticulously designed for journeys beyond our realm. Now, let's consider the dual nature of the shaman's power, a power to heal and to harm, to bless and to curse, and how this duality was often profoundly reflected in their funerary practices. We're going to delve into the ancient evidence revealing healing, cursing, dying as interwoven aspects of their final repose. Imagine the shaman in life a figure both revered and feared. They were the one you turned to when sickness ravaged your village, when the hunt failed, or when malevolent spirits plagued your dreams. They were the source of profound healing, capable of extracting spiritual sickness or guiding lost souls. But they were also the one capable of invoking curses, of harnessing destructive spiritual forces against enemies, or of navigating the dangerous paths of retribution. This immense, often unpredictable power didn't simply vanish with their death, it was believed to linger, to be contained, or even to be redirected through their burial. You might find evidence of this duality in the grave goods themselves, alongside healing implements, like polished stones used for laying on of hands, or bone tubes for sucking out illness. You might discover objects with a darker purpose, perhaps a small, sharp bone awl, potentially used for piercing effigies and sympathetic magic for cursing, or unusual collections of animal parts that, in a given culture, were associated with ill omens or destructive spirits. The presence of both benevolent and malevolent tools suggests that the shaman, even in death, retained access to the full spectrum of their spiritual abilities. Consider the skeletal remains themselves. While rare, archaeological evidence has occasionally revealed signs of trauma on a shaman's body that might not be immediately attributable to accident or battle. This could range from healed ritual scarification, hinting at their arduous initiations in life, to more ambiguous injuries that some scholars controversially interpret as possible ritualistic violence, perhaps associated with their death or burial to ensure their power was effectively transferred or contained. It's a chilling thought that the very body might bear the marks of its sacred, and sometimes brutal, life. The orientation or posture of the body can also hint at this dual power. while some shamans might be buried in a peaceful, fetal position. Others might be found in a more active, perhaps even contorted, pose. This could symbolize their energetic journey, but it could also be interpreted as a deliberate containment for a shaman whose power was particularly feared, or whose spirit was believed to be exceptionally volatile. Their burial might have included specific bindings, heavy stones placed on the body, or other methods to ensure their potent energy remained within the grave, preventing it from manifesting as a curse upon the living. This isn't just about respect, it's about control. Archaeological interpretation of specific burial practices as reflecting cursing abilities is inherently challenging, often relying on ethnographic parallels from living cultures, which may or may not accurately reflect ancient beliefs. This makes such interpretations highly speculative and a frequent subject of academic debate. A particularly eerie detail is the potential for apotheosis through self-inflicted ritual. Some ethnographic accounts of shamans in various cultures speak of a deliberate, ritualized death or near-death experience as a final, transformative act to achieve ultimate spiritual power. While direct archaeological evidence for such a practice is incredibly difficult to prove, the presence of certain grave goods or unusual body postures could be seen through this lens, hinting at a shaman who consciously chose their final demise as a means to transcend their earthly limitations and gain even greater power in the spirit world. It's a terrifying concept of ultimate spiritual ambition. The very location of the burial can carry a dual meaning. A sacred grove might be a place of healing, but also a place where dark spirits reside. A mountain pass might offer access to celestial realms, but also serve as a gateway for malevolent entities. By being buried in such a liminal, powerful space, the shaman, even in death, maintained their role as a mediator between these opposing forces, capable of harnessing both for the benefit or detriment of the community. You might also find evidence of offerings at the gravesite that reflect this duality. While some offerings might be for sustenance or blessings, others could be propitiatory offerings, meant to appease the shaman's spirit or to redirect any lingering negative energy. Perhaps specific animal sacrifices or valuable objects were placed at the grave, not just to honor, but to ensure that the shaman's power remained benevolent. It's a constant negotiation with the unseen forces embodied by the departed spiritual leader. The types of charms or amulets found in a shaman's grave can also reveal this tension. Some might be overtly protective, warding off illness or bad luck. Others might be more ambiguous, or even suggestive of a desire to control or manipulate others. The very complexity of these objects reflects the multifaceted nature of shamanic power, which rarely fit neatly into simple categories of good or evil. The profound sense of respect, yet also an underlying wariness, that a community would have felt for a powerful shaman, both in life and in death, is palpable when examining their burials. They were essential for survival, but their closeness to the unpredictable spirit world meant they were always a little apart, a little dangerous. Their burials, then, were the ultimate expression of this complex relationship, reflecting the shaman's ability to navigate the terrifying currents of both healing, cursing, and ultimately dying as a final, powerful act. You've explored the shaman's dual capacity for healing and cursing, reflected even in their burial. Now, let's delve into another profound layer of their spiritual practice, one that deeply influenced how their graves were prepared, the echoes of trance and vision. We'll investigate how archaeological findings hint at the use of psychoactive substances and altered states of consciousness, suggesting that the shaman's final resting place was designed to sustain or symbolize these profound spiritual journeys into eternity. Imagine the shaman in life, preparing for a journey into the spirit world. The flickering firelight dances on their face. The rhythmic drumbeat fills the air, and perhaps the pungent aroma of burning herbs or mushrooms wafts around them. They are deliberately entering an altered state of consciousness, a trance to communicate with spirits, gain knowledge, or facilitate healing. This was the core of their power, the very essence of their being when such a figure died. Their burial was often designed to honor, preserve, or even enable this crucial ability in the afterlife. You might find archaeological evidence of psychoactive plants or the tools for their preparation within a shaman's grave. While the plants themselves rarely survive millennia, residue analysis on ancient pipes, bowls, grinding stones, or even unique organic containers can reveal traces of potent substances. These could include opium poppies, cannabis, various hallucinogenic mushrooms, or plants containing alkaloids like ephedrine. The presence of such materials suggests that these shamans literally took their keys to the spirit world with them into the grave. Consider the meticulous preparation of these substances. It wasn't just about casual consumption. These were sacred tools, used with specific rituals and intentions to induce profound visions. These visions were not seen as hallucinations, but as direct experiences of the spirit realm. Pathways to divine knowledge. Burying these substances with the shaman ensures that their ability to commune with spirits and gain foresight remains undiminished in their eternal state. It's like burying a scholar with their books, but these books opened up entire other dimensions. The grave itself could be designed to evoke or facilitate a trance-like environment. Perhaps a smaller, enclosed chamber, dark and acoustically resonant, designed to amplify subtle sounds or create a sense of sensory deprivation, mimicking the conditions of a deep trance, or the placement of certain stones or objects that might have been part of the shaman's personal vision quest landscape in life. While archaeological finds of psychoactive residues are compelling, definitively proving their ritualistic use for trance in ancient burials remains an area of ongoing academic research and requires careful elimination of alternative explanations, such as medicinal or recreational use. It is a complex field that often draws upon ethnographic parallels. A particularly intriguing detail is the discovery of dream bundles, or small, carefully assembled collections of objects placed near the shaman's head or chest. These bundles might contain tiny polished stones, specific seeds, small animal bones, or even remnants of textiles. These could be personal talismans, powerful amulets, or symbolic representations of visions experienced in life, intended to guide the shaman's dreams and visions in the afterlife. It's a very intimate glimpse into their personal spiritual landscape. The emphasis on symbolic flight is also strongly linked to trance and vision. Many shamanic traditions speak of the shaman's soul leaving the body and flying to distant spirit realms, often aided by bird spirits. This is reflected in grave goods like numerous bird bones, feathers, or avian-themed carvings. The burial, therefore, could be seen as the ultimate spiritual flight, with the shaman's body remaining behind as a grounded anchor. While their spirit soared through the cosmos, you might also find evidence of musical instruments that specifically relate to trance induction drums, rattles, or flutes. As we discussed earlier, the rhythmic, repetitive sounds of these instruments are powerful tools for altering consciousness. Their presence in the grave ensures the shaman's access to these sound gateways, allowing them to continue their spiritual journeys. Imagine the echoes of that ancient drum, beating eternally in the silent earth, guiding a spirit through countless visions. The very posture of the body within the grave can sometimes evoke a trance state, instead of a simple sleeping or fetal position. A shaman might be buried in a more unusual, almost active pose, perhaps with hands positioned in a specific gesture, or limbs subtly contorted, as if caught in the moment of spiritual ecstasy or mid-journey. This could be a deliberate representation of their life's defining spiritual experience. Frozen in death, the burial of a shaman wasn't just about preserving their physical remains. It was about preserving their spiritual capacity. It was about ensuring that their profound connection to trance and vision, their ability to navigate other dimensions, remained active and accessible. The objects, the body's position, and the very design of the grave were all part of a grand, final ritual to facilitate this eternal journey into the unseen. One fascinating, if speculative, aspect is the potential for ancient rock art or cave paintings, often found near burial sites, to depict shamanic trance experiences, while not direct grave goods. These artistic expressions can offer clues to the visual nature of the visions shamans experienced, and how those experiences were understood and symbolized by their communities. It's like finding the very guidebooks for their spirit journeys, etched into the stone. So, as you quietly reflect on the ancient shaman's final resting place, you see it as a silent theater of profound spiritual activity, the echoes of trance and vision, hinted at by subtle archaeological clues, paint a vivid picture of a life lived on the edge of perception, and a death prepared for an eternal journey into the very heart of the spirit world, forever navigating the boundless realms of altered consciousness. You've explored the profound influence of trance and vision on shamanic burials, hinting at the depths of their spiritual journeys. Now, let's bring our inquiry into the present, acknowledging the complexities and debates that arise when modern science attempts to decipher these ancient mysteries. We're going to delve into ancient wisdom, modern interpretations, exploring the scientific and anthropological debates surrounding these unique and often unsettling graves. Imagine an archaeological team standing at the edge of a newly discovered ancient burial site. Perhaps in Siberia or North America, they've found a body, clearly special, adorned with unusual artifacts. The immediate question arises, is this a shaman? And if so, how do we interpret the unsettling aspects of their burial, the dismembered bones, the animal parts, the strange postures? This isn't a simple task. It's a profound challenge that requires blending hard scientific data with careful anthropological reasoning, and acknowledging the vast cultural gap between our modern worldview and ancient spiritual practices. One of the primary debates revolves around definitional ambiguity. What exactly constitutes a shamanic burial? There's no single, universal checklist, while ethnographic studies of living shamanic cultures provide invaluable parallels. Applying them directly to archaeological findings from thousands of years ago is fraught with difficulty. What might appear as a shamanic tool in one culture could be a symbol of elite status in another. Archaeologists must synthesize skeletal analysis, grave goods, burial context, and regional cultural data to build a convincing case. And even then, interpretations can vary widely among experts. Consider the evidence for ritual dismemberment. When bones are found disarticulated or with cut marks, is it always evidence of a deliberate ritual performed at the time of death? Or could it be secondary burial, where a body was exhumed and reburied, or even the result of animal scavenging or post-depositional disturbance? Forensic anthropologists use meticulous techniques to distinguish between these possibilities, analyzing cut marks, bone modifications, and taphonomic processes, the study of how organisms decay and fossilize. The scientific consensus on precise intent behind such practices remains elusive, often requiring a careful weighing of multiple lines of evidence rather than a single smoking gun. This highlights the complexity of reconstructing ancient ritual behavior from silent bones. Another major area of contention is the identification of psychoactive substances. While residue analysis on artifacts can reveal chemical traces, proving that these substances were used specifically for ritualistic trance induction, rather than for medicinal purposes or even as recreational drugs, is difficult. The archaeological record can tell us what was present, but not always why or how it was used, leaving room for a range of interpretations based on comparative studies with known uses in historical or living shamanic societies. It's like finding a pill bottle without a prescription. You know what it contains, but not necessarily the exact purpose it was used for. The interpretation of animal remains also sparks debate. When animal skeletons or parts are found with a shaman, are they spirit guides, offerings, symbols of status, or simply provisions for the afterlife in some cases? The ritualistic placement, yejiji, a bear skull placed specifically over the shaman's head, strongly suggests a symbolic meaning. But in others, it might be more ambiguous. Understanding the specific cultural significance of each animal within a given ancient society is crucial. But that knowledge is often inferred from fragmented evidence and comparative ethnography. You might hear archaeologists debate the role of agency in these burials. Was the deceased individual a shaman in their lifetime, intentionally buried in a specific way by their community? Or were they perhaps made into a shaman through the very act of their burial, their grave becoming a site of power after their death? This subtle distinction shifts the emphasis from the individual's life to the community's post-mortem rituals and beliefs, leading to different interpretations of the archaeological evidence. It's like asking if a famous person's mausoleum was built for them, or if it became famous because they were in it. The very term shaman itself is a subject of academic discussion, originating from Siberian Tungusic languages. Its application to diverse ancient cultures across the globe is sometimes seen as an oversimplification, lumping together distinct spiritual practitioners under a single, potentially misleading, umbrella. This ongoing methodological debate encourages researchers to use the term with nuance, or to adopt more specific cultural descriptors where possible. Ultimately, studying ancient shamanic burials is an exercise in interdisciplinary scholarship. It requires archaeologists with their meticulous excavation skills, forensic anthropologists with their understanding of human remains, linguists for any rare inscriptions, ethnographers who study living indigenous cultures, and historians who synthesize textual and material evidence. Each discipline brings a unique lens to the mystery, contributing to a more holistic, though never entirely complete, understanding. One intriguing, subtle detail that fuels these debates is the occasional overlap between shamanic burials and those of powerful secular leaders. In some ancient societies, the roles of spiritual authority and political leadership might have been intertwined, making it challenging to definitively categorize a burial as purely shamanic. Was the powerful individual also a shaman? Or was their spiritual influence merely an extension of their worldly power? This blurring of lines adds another layer of complexity to the interpretation. So, as you reflect on the ongoing scientific quest to understand ancient shamanic burials, you realize it's a journey into the heart of human belief. Pushing the boundaries of what archaeological evidence can tell us, it's a fascinating dance between ancient wisdom and modern interpretations. A continuous effort to bring the light of scientific inquiry to the profound mysteries concealed within the earth. While still respecting the unknowable depths of ancient spiritual worlds, you've navigated the complex debates and scientific interpretations surrounding ancient shamanic burials. Now, as our deep dive into these unique resting places comes to a gentle close, let's allow ourselves to settle into the profound finality, yet also the enduring mystery of the shaman's endless dream. These graves are more than just archaeological sites. They are silent testaments to a profound way of life and death, continuing to resonate with a quiet power that transcends millennia. Imagine the shaman, now at rest in their meticulously prepared grave. Their bones lie still, perhaps adorned with animal teeth, surrounded by ritual tools, pointed towards a cosmic alignment. For them, death was not annihilation, but a continuation, a final, perhaps ultimate, trance, their spirit. Once journeying into the depths of the underworld or soaring to the celestial heavens in life, was now forever poised to continue these profound explorations from the very heart of the earth. Their burial was not an end, but an eternal beginning, a dream that would never cease. The enduring mystery of shamanic burials lies in their inherent ambiguity. We, with our modern scientific lenses, can analyze the bones, identify the artifacts, and even trace chemical residues. We can hypothesize about their beliefs and rituals, yet we can never truly enter the shaman's mind, can never fully grasp the raw, terrifying, and exhilarating reality of their spiritual journeys. That core experience, that direct communion with the unseen, remains forever beyond our reach. A secret whispered only to the wind and the ancient earth. Consider the objects left with them: the rattles, the drums, the animal parts. These weren't just possessions, they were extensions of their being, conduits of their power. Even now, stripped of their original context and meaning, they carry a certain weight, a silent hum of ancient energy. You can almost feel the presence of the powerful spirit guides, the echoes of their transformative trances, forever bound to these tools and to the sleeping shaman. It's a powerful feeling, a quiet reminder that some energies linger. The grave itself was a sacred space, a microcosm of the cosmos the shaman navigated, whether it was aligned with the sun, the stars, or specific earthly features. It was intended as a permanent portal, a place where the veil between worlds remained perpetually thin. Even now, standing at such a site, you might feel a faint resonance, a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a quiet invitation to ponder the unseen realms that ancient peoples believed lay just beyond their sight. The shaman's endless dream is also a reflection of their community's enduring need for spiritual connection. Even after the shaman's physical death, their grave remained a source of power, a place where the living could still attempt to commune with their departed guide. Offerings might have been made, rituals performed, all in the hope that the shaman's wisdom, their healing abilities, or their protective influence could still be accessed from the realm of the dead. It's a testament to the idea that some leaders, some individuals, are never truly gone. Their presence simply transforms. This exploration has peeled back layers of history, revealing complex belief systems, ingenious craftsmanship, and a profound respect for the spiritual power of nature. We've seen how disturbing rituals, like ritual dismemberment, were not acts of violence but symbolic transformations. Preparing the shaman for an eternal, active role in the spirit world, it's a challenging concept for us to grasp, but one that speaks to a deeply different understanding of life, death, and identity. The very fact that these burials have survived for thousands of years, carrying their secrets into our modern world, is a quiet miracle. Each discovery adds another piece to the vast, incomplete puzzle of ancient spiritualities, enriching our understanding of human diversity and the countless ways our ancestors sought to make sense of the universe. They are silent archives, whispering timeless tales that invite us to look beyond the mundane and consider the profound. So, as the light in your mind dims and the stories of ancient shamans fade like echoes in a vast cavern, let the quiet weight of their endless dreams settle. The cold earth embraces them. Their spirit tools lie still, but their journey, according to ancient belief, continues. Feel the lingering coolness, the subtle hum of forgotten power, and allow the images of their profound spiritual lives and deaths to gently dissolve into the peaceful stillness of the night. Sleep now, and perhaps, in your own dreams, you might glimpse a fragment of their eternal journey.